Hello everybody, a few days ago I uploaded a video called Break a Leg Yoga Studio. Today I want to take you behind the scenes on how I shot the entire video. I'll be explaining every step of the way, going through in order of everything I did to eventually be able to come up with the final result. I'm no expert in Unreal Engine, but I think you can definitely learn something from it. If you like it, please leave a like or a comment, and I'm gonna see you later. Let's go. So the very first step is actually doing the mocap session. I'm using Perception Neuron 3. You can see me wearing this. This is where I record the raw animation that will be used for the MetaHuman later. I also have my helmet with the iPhone to use with the MetaHuman animator later, and this is capturing my my facial expressions. And now, after recording the raw data from Perception Neuron 3, I just bring it into Axis Studio, where I can see the final result of the animation right before I bring that into Unreal Engine. So here you can see that what I recorded with the suit, the mocap suit, gets translated into a 3D character, and I can see if there's any problems with the animation. If I'm happy with it, I would just use this one, and if I'm not, I would just redo it again. And now I'm going to prepare the animations to be brought into Unreal Engine. I open a blank map with nothing in it, just a MetaHuman, and this is where I prepare my MetaHuman to be used with a take recorder next. Here I don't mind what it looks like, what the MetaHuman looks like. I just need to bring a MetaHuman into the scene before I start doing the actual recording of the animation. Next, I'm going to do record the animation with Take Recorder. So I prepare the MetaHuman, I prepare the settings, the destination for saving, I remove the face, and now I'm ready to use a Take Recorder. However, before the MetaHuman is able to get the animation from Axis Studio, I need to do a small blueprint from inside the MetaHuman body, so that whatever motion the Axis Studio is providing will be picked up by MetaHuman. So here I'm not gonna go into further detail about how to do this blueprint because there are lots of tutorials, but this is usually the next step that I do before I can see the animation on screen. With the blueprint ready, now I can see data coming live from Axis Studio, and I can see the results right away onto the MetaHuman. Though the poses are a little weird, I will fix that later, but this is usually the process using Take Recorder that will bring this motion into an animation that I can use in Sequencer later. And now onto the 3D scene. Instead of creating one from scratch, I downloaded one available that suited my needs, and this is like a small gem. However, I didn't need all the meshes inside, so I deleted the things that I didn't need, because in my head I already had an idea of what I wanted to shoot. So I wanted an empty scene where I could put MetaHumans that would pose as a yoga teacher and trainees, and this is where I changed the color of the wall a little bit and tweaked the lighting a little bit in order to achieve the end result. The end result. The scene is basically very simple, but it worked pretty well for me at the end, and I was very happy with the video at the end. So this is just a simple scene. Right next, after that, I just brought my MetaHuman that was going to pose as the yoga instructor in the video. I put the MetaHuman in the scene, created a level sequence, and then I just in this part I just wanted to put the MetaHuman in the correct location to prepare. I set my camera angle and I put the MetaHuman in front of it where I meant to. And basically in this step I'm just making sure the directions, the camera angle, the MetaHuman is right where it's supposed to be. The other ones I would add later, but this is basically what it is for now, just inserting the MetaHuman. Next, it was time for me to record the facial animation that I recorded with the iPhone with a helmet on. So I'm using MetaHuman Animator to bring all my footage inside. I recorded a bunch of MetaHumans, but at this stage I'm only bringing the yoga instructor, all the facial animations that come from it, and I'm just uploading to MetaHuman Animator and then doing all the process. You can watch tutorials online on how to do it, but this step is pretty straightforward. If you learn how to do it, it's always the same. This is what I'm doing here, doing my calibration poses and fixing my teeth and preparing the capture of the face. And now with both the facial animation and the body animation ready, I put them inside the sequencer, where you can see that both the body and the face are acting the way I recorded. Obviously there are some problems with the poses, and that's what I'm going to fix later on with the baking to control rig. But for now I can see that both animations and the head is not detaching by a miracle. And then that's where I'm just putting the animations together and syncing the face with the body. Here is where I'm going to start to bake to control rig her body. Just for her body for now, I bake to control rig, and then now I'm going to start adjusting the poses because there's a lot of problems with this animation. No animation is perfect. So here is where I bake it. And after baking, I just go step by step, fixing usually I fix the upper arm, and then the lower arm, and then the hands, and then the spine. But I'm not going into details of how to keyframe everything. This is just about the steps that I take. You can watch more tutorials on how to do this in more detail later. So here I'm just adjusting some of the things that need urgent fixing. The next step is baking the face to the faceboard control rig. And here, after I bake, I go over some very unnatural words that I say that probably the MetaHuman Animator couldn't pick up well. MetaHuman Animator is amazing, but it has its flaws. So here I'm not going to go into details once again. I'm just baking, and now I spend probably the whole day fixing some of the mouth movements, the startled expressions and everything. So here's what I do, and I go fixing one by one. This takes a long time, so you gotta be patient. Now back to the original video. You can see that behind the yoga instructor there are 4 students practicing yoga. So now we will go into the 4 students in the back. The foreground yoga instructor is done. Now I'm going to tweak the students in the back, their bodies and their face and everything else. So let's go. For the students in the background, I went to the MetaHuman Creator just because the students in the back are not as important as the yoga instructor, so I didn't customize their faces very much. I only tweaked their pants with yoga pants and shorts and sandals, and then I just did a little basic tweaking. Probably I chose some pre-made MetaHumans, and after that I just download them into the project. Then I started bringing each of the 4 students into my scene. You can see here that I'm putting them in the scene. I had a problem with the origin of the perception neuron. When I recorded, the origin was off. So the moment I add them into the scene, their origin point offset just gets messed up. But I was able to put them in their respective positions, as you can see here. This is basically just putting the location right. Next, I'm going to deal with each of the 4 students' facial animations. The animations were recorded on the shooting day, so now I'm bringing them into MetaHuman Animator, loading the videos of the 4 students that I labeled correctly. It's very important that you label correctly, so I'm bringing them into the system now so that I can prepare them for performance, and that's basically what I did here. Next, I'm adding each of the 4 students to Sequencer, so now that I'm going to apply the body animation to each one of them. So here you can see me applying the body animation, making sure the body animation, the end points and the start points match, and the face and body animation sync together. I'm just adding them at this point. Next, I take their bodies and their face and bake both to control. I take the body and bake to control rig, and I take the face and I bake it to control board. So now that I can start tweaking their bodies and their face. Their facial expressions don't matter so much because they're out of focus, but the body has some problems because the yoga poses are difficult. So I tweak them here. Back to the original video, you can see the downward facing stray dog. Now I'm going to go step by step on how I made this animation and how the end result was here as you see it. Obviously I cannot do a downward facing dog, so I had to tweak it a lot. First thing I did was go to MetaHuman Creator and pick a model that I wanted. I chose a preset because I didn't have time to tweak their face in a customized way. So I chose the body. I had to apply a yoga pant and with sandals and a simple t-shirt. So here basically I didn't tweak much. I just chose the clothing that I was aiming for, and after that I just went on and added them into my scene. This was rather interesting and funny because obviously I cannot do a downward facing stray dog pose, so I recorded the basic orientation as you can see here, which is far from perfect. I'm not a flexible human being and I'm a little overweight, so it was really hard to put my legs straight, so I knew that I would be able to fix this in post. So the X's neural program, you can see that my pose reflected on the X's Studio 3D character. You see it's not perfect, but the end result on the left was the way I wanted, because in UE I was able to straighten out the legs and also the posture. So this was rather difficult, but it was doable nonetheless. After that was done, it was time to apply the facial animation to the downward facing stray dog. I recorded the facial animation on the day of the shooting, obviously, so here I'm processing the animation, which is very basic and very simple. The character doesn't move a lot, but still I wanted to record a facial animation, so that's what I ended up doing here. Then I did a basic lighting setup for the downward facing stray dog. It was nothing very special, it was just because the lighting was a little off, so I added a few lights so that it could be embodied in the final video. That's basically what I did here. Set up some lights to make sure it was properly lit, and yes, and basically that not much going on here. It's just the lighting and the shadows that I was trying to get right here. Now it was time for me to tweak the body animation of the character. As you can see, the hands are sunken into the floor. I had to tweak that quite a lot because at the end of the day, this was a satire. I wanted to show that the whole body was being supported by one finger only, so I had to do a little tweaking on the hands and the arms too to get the result that I desire. This wasn't so difficult. Then I went on to the legs because the legs had to be straightened out, and I wanted to show that the whole body, back side of the body, was being supported by the sandals. So that's where I did some tweaking to the feet here to just make sure that it was the way I meant it to be. And it was nothing pretty crazy, but the MetaHumans, they get a little crazy when you change the orientation. However, at the end I was able to pull it off. I was really happy with the result. Moving on to the Iron Tongue Exorcist, this was a very tricky one to do when it comes to the body motion capture, because obviously I cannot do a mocap like this upside down. So what I had to do is like imagine in my mind how it would be if I was doing it in a straight up pose. So this was pretty tricky, especially when changing the MetaHuman orientation upside down. But still, I was able to pull it off, so now I'll show you how I did this character. Here's how I shot the animation. You can see that on Access Studio, my animation was just not upside down. I was just doing it how I imagined, so that I would just flip the orientation later. So after recording it, I just added to the MetaHuman and I just changed the orientation upside down, as you can see here. The problem with the software was that when I recorded, the offset position was in the wrong place, so the axis, the pivot offset was a little crazy. It required me to do quite a lot of tweaking, but in the end, I was happy with the result. It was just as I had intended. Next was the facial animation for the Iron Tongue Exorcist. This was the easiest part because the only thing happening in the animation is me, stretching out my tongue so that it's the way I want to portray it is the tongue is supporting the whole body, which is ridiculous. So the animation was pretty simple, just pulling out the tongue and doing this in the MetaHuman animator later. And now it was time for me to render. Before rendering, I had to do some color space transforms. I added a OCIO where I went from linear sRGB to Rec 709. That's where I would add it on DaVinci Resolve. So I added the OCIO. Then I added my sequence to the movie render queue, applied a EXR, and after that I went on with the color output. Here's where I applied the OCIO that I created. You can check for tutorials on how to do that. I rendered that in 4K 30 frames per second, and also I added some console commands where I chose to do a screen percentage of 150, and I did not add any anti-alias into this. Now on to editing in DaVinci. I use DaVinci Resolve. I use Mac, so you have to do you have to tweak a few settings before you do it on Mac, otherwise the colors won't match. So I prepared it for a Mac display, the Rec 709. After that, I set the color management of the video. Color management, as you can see here, you can check some tutorials. This only applies if you are using Mac to add it. If you're using Windows, the workflow is different. I edited all my videos using DaVinci on Mac, so I had to do this. Then here, basically, because the colors coming out of Unreal were already pretty solid, so all I did was add a little saturation and a little bit of effects. I also added subtitles, because I record videos for Chinese audiences and English audiences. I had to add English subtitles as well as Chinese subtitles, so that took me a little time. Added some effects, added some music, and basically I didn't do a lot of color grading here because when it comes to Unreal videos, they already come with a good color since you tweak the lights well. And this is basically my workflow for DaVinci. And now we need to talk about the sound, because I'm a dude and you can see that she's a girl. Let's see how we did that. To change my voice from a man to a female, I went to 11 Labs. That's what I use, and I chose the character, the voice that I wanted, the female voice I wanted. Added my original sound here, and then I just generated, and the results are pretty good. I'm very happy with how far 11 Labs has come. So this was the easiest part, and that's what I did here for the sound. Then I inserted my converted audio into my timeline in DaVinci, and I just, as you can see here, I put the music, background music, a few sound effects, and that was pretty much it. I also designed a killer cover picture for my project, but this is how I did it. Then I exported in MP4, 4K, and that's the end of it. So how was it? It was a lot of information to cover. Alright, so that was all. If you have any questions about any step of the way, obviously I couldn't explain everything in meticulous detail, but if you have any question, I'm happy to answer you in the comments. So have a great day, and I'm gonna see you next time. Bye bye.